Have 6 to 8 minutes because she has a lot to tell us about herself. Come on up, Melody, please. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'll
you.
be here if you need me.
Okay, all right, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, presiding officers, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. My name is Melody Chambers, and I am here today to talk to you about how your weakness is your greatest strength. And I'm going to introduce myself to you by using some examples in my own life where I've discovered that a weakness that I perceived as a weakness has become a strength. As I go through these examples, I encourage all of you to think about challenging situations that you've experienced in the past or are currently going through, and maybe how those experiences have served you in your life. Sometimes you're just not born with something in terms of ability. Is there anybody here who's bad at math? Okay, I got a couple handfuls. All right, well, I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one. When I was in grade school, I was a good student. I was an early reader. By the age of 8, I was reading preteen novels, the thick books, and I was overall good in school. And I was terrible at math. When I was in the 4th grade, I got a D in math, and that was mortifying. I didn't get Ds. And at that point in time, I determined that I was going to overcome math. I was going to become good at math. In the 6th grade, the teachers gave us a test that we could take to determine if we could get into advanced math in the 7th grade the following year. And I decided to take that test, and by some miracle, I actually passed that test. So I started taking advanced math at the 7th grade level, and I followed the advanced math course all the way through high school, and I actually graduated from high school having taken calculus. And that to date is actually one of my life's greatest accomplishments. Math was not easy for me. I had to study really hard, and I was very right brain. So in order for me to get through math, I had to use my creative side of my brain to do it. So I had to really understand the methods that the professors or the teachers were teaching us so that I could apply it, and then I would use creative problem solving to do it. It was different than how everybody else was doing it. And I have found since then that I am a very creative problem solver. During that time, I would come up with a solution to a problem that might have been different than the way the instructor came to it, but it was still correct. When they gave a test in the beginning of the year to see how much you remembered from the previous year, I would get C's on the test all the way through school, but the following year when you did a retest, things that happened the year before, I had an amazing retention. It was so hard to learn that I retained an amazing amount. So that greatest weakness became one of my greatest strengths. Has anyone here ever put their foot in their mouth? All right, good. There's a few more hands going up. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one. Sometimes I feel like I say the dumbest things. In 2006, I was working for United Parcel Service. I was a new supervisor, and I was working 80 hours a week for 3 years straight, and I was miserable. I was burned out, and I was miserable. And at UPS, what they do is they'll transfer you to a different department every so often, a year and a half, 2 years, or they'll move you to a different location entirely. And I got transferred to the Seattle office. I had covered the Northwest Division, and then I was on an interim assignment helping the HR staff at the Seattle office. So I ran into the district manager, who was my boss's boss's boss, in the hallway, and I was a little bit terrified of her. I was a new supervisor, and I was a little bit afraid of her. And she asked me conversationally how things were going, and I nervously blathered on about how I didn't really have a formal area that I was covering right now, and I was helping the Seattle office, but things were going great. And the district manager looked at me, her mouth went into a thin line, and she went, And And then she didn't say anything and walked away. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I say? Why did I say that? She's gonna think I'm not doing anything. She's gonna give me more work, and I'm already working 80 hours a week. So I was just panicking. Well, it turns out that United Way had contacted UPS. Every year, United Parcel Service would loan an executive over to United Way to actually report to United Way as their employee, but you get to continue to receive your regular wage from UPS. Well, it so happened that they had an opening, and it so happened that I ran into my district manager when they were making that decision, and then it so happened that I got that assignment because I wasn't tied to a specific area. And that conversation changed my life. I became engaged to my husband. I found a job at Peace Health. I transferred over here. And I had a life-changing experience meeting United Way recipients and seeing the work they did in the community. And I don't think I'll ever be the same again. It was incredible. Does anybody here come from an imperfect family? All right, more hands every time. Well, there's a statistic that 80% of us come from dysfunctional families, and I'm no exception to that. Like most Generation Xers, people from my generation, we were predominantly latchkey kids, so our parents were at home when we got home. They left my older brother in charge, who was 2 years older than me, and he was verbally abusive, unfortunately, and manipulative. And he would bully me at home, and then he would bully me at school, because we were just 2 years apart, so we often went to the same school. And because he bullied me at school, other kids viewed that as a green light to bully me as well. So I just couldn't win. I became very introverted, terrified to draw any attention to myself at all. And I was so painfully shy that I would only talk to somebody if they talked to me first. But out of that came a superpower. Shy people are that way because they can feel situations. They can read people's feelings. They can gauge a situation, and that's great when feelings are good, but you can't turn it off when you're picking up negative things. So they tend to shy away and hide away from it. But that perceived weakness is my superpower and anyone else's who is shy. Because if you turn that into your strength, you can read people. You can become a great human resources professional. You can become a great salesperson. Or you can even become a great public speaker. And the latter is what my goal is to become. So I'll leave you with this message. Whatever your greatest weakness is, will become your greatest strength. Always remember that. Thank you.